Well, Attitudeable opens the door to a new world of people transforming lives and the way we do business. Today, I am living my dream because I'm interviewing Ed Gandia, who is a disruptor, a game changer, a building coach, and I have been listening to his podcast, the previous one, the first one, for more than 10 years, more or less, and many of us translators as well. Welcome to our podcast, Ed.
Well, thank you, Dolores. Great to be here.
Yes, I'm very happy to chat with you about your thoughts about what you are doing. What do you think the market is going, and a lot of things. But very briefly, the first question: how do you find yourself now in this challenging year, let's say, with AI and everything that's going on? And how do you keep on moving forward, keep on writing, because there's always a new book that you are launching? Let us know.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting time. And I think if you're not careful about your mindset and what conversation you're having with yourself, you can quickly put yourself in a position where you're completely paralyzed with fear, paralyzed with inaction. And unfortunately, that has a ripple effect on your business. Clients can sense it, prospective clients can sense it when you're talking to them, when you're marketing to them. They sense a desperation, a sense of fear. So you have to be really careful. What's happening out there is very real. I'm not denying that. But it's not about what happens to you, is what you do about it, how you respond rather than react. I'm big into, hey, respond to the situation. Don't react to the situation. Reaction is never good because it comes from a place of fear as opposed to a place from love or from assurance and confidence in your skills, your background, the value you have to offer. So we can dive more into it, but I think it's very important. I think above all that we maintain some perspective and not go straight to fear when we look at all the changes and all the disruptions in the market.
Yes, you're right. And as translators, copywriters, writers, we are always like very have very catastrophic
Yes.
emotions and feelings. And so it's a roller coaster.
It is. It's different when you're working in an office, with a traditional employer, because you feel like you're on a boat with a lot of other people, so
Yes.
you're okay. You're part of a team, and, we're all going to chip in, and it's everything's going to be okay. But when it's just you, it feels like you bear the whole weight on your shoulders,
Exactly.
and that could be stressful.
And for example, I, as a translator, last week, someone asked me, are you still working as a translator? Have you changed your job? Because now you will have no more requests. And I say, no, have you changed yours? No, I'm still a translator and I'm working quite a lot.
Yes.
So it's the perspective and the way this is launched all over the world, not only in some parts.
Agreed.
You agree. And Ed, what inspires you to keep on writing, to keep on doing what you do every day for the clients? No, earn more in less time, doing work you love for better clients. That's your theme, your lemma. How do you find the inspiration around all this turmoil and everything? How do you, let's say, stay focused?
Well, the first thing I should say is that these days I spend most of my time working with clients on their business, helping them do those things, earn more and less time doing work they love for better quality clients. The writing that I do is strictly for myself these days. So I let go of my last writing client about 6 years ago. And that's enabled me to focus 100% of my time and energy on my coaching clients. In terms of how I keep going, it can be difficult because I am working with a lot of coaching clients who are very fearful right now. So, and that they project that fear on me, so if I'm not careful, I can quickly start worrying myself, and I'm not helping anybody. Okay. Now, you have to be very realistic. I'm not saying you should be delusional, ignore what's happening. But I think this is a time to put things in perspective. And if we're talking, I think there are two big things right now. There's the AI threat, and there's the challenging economy. Depends on where you are, who you're working with, but a lot of freelancers are feeling that the negative impacts of a slowing economy. If we're talking about AI, there's a lot to unpack there. But I'll say this, in terms of regaining perspective, we have to step back and take a look at where and how is this going to really impact our business. And we have to realize that it's not an either or scenario. There are many different layers and levels of this, because many freelancers are working kind of at the bottom of the barrel. They're working with really bad clients for very low fees and very difficult scenarios.
Yes.
And then we move up from there, and then you get all the way up to the top of the mountain, if you will. And at that point, if you can imagine, if we keep this metaphor, you're looking down in the valley, you're very safe ground up there. You're at a high elevation. So where AI is really becoming a massive threat is in the valley, at the lower lying elevations. I think of it as a great flood. If you are at a low point, at a low lying area, that flood is going to sweep you away. So if we're talking about SEO driven fodder, which has very little value, and your clients just want you to crank out content because they need that fodder every single day. The days of doing that work are very limited. That's where AI is just is a no-brainer. That's low-hanging fruit. One level above that, I would call it the kind of the vendor level. Again, if we kind of stay with this mountain metaphor, the vendor level would be where you're not the bargain basement writer or translator. You're a step above that. You're being considered by other factors other than price, but price is still one of the primary factors. Okay, so it's still very competitive. It's somewhat cutthroat, but not as bad as the low-lying areas. I would say that you're still under threat there. Let's face it. That's still going to be an issue, because those kinds of companies are still they're still looking into how they can incorporate AI. Above that is what I call the trusted advisor level. And this is a really nice place to be. This is where you're seen as more than just a translator or writer. You're a collaborator. You're adding value beyond the words. You're helping clients think through some of these issues. You're helping them with strategy, with ideas and insights. So you're bringing ideas to the table and so forth. And you're seen as an indispensable resource. That's a great place to be. And this is where I think AI is going to be very, very difficult to touch, at least for a long time, because those kinds of clients, first of all, see the value in everything else you do, number one. And number two, you're going to be able to do things AI just can't do. Provide perspective, insights, ideas, advice. AI is very good at very discrete tasks. It's not very good at connecting dots and providing insights. So there's that. And then there's a level above that, which I call the rock star level. And, some people can get there, and that's great, but you don't necessarily need to be a rock star, be at the very top of the mountain to be safe from AI. I want to really shine a spotlight on that segment right below, which is the trusted advisor level. So anyone below that should really try to work their way up to that higher ground and the value mountain, if you will. And I think you're going to be fine. It's just a matter of of really mustering the courage to work your way up there.
Yes, and that's sometimes hard because you need to, let's say, face it, perhaps you have to keep on studying or improving your skills, continuing education or moving forward in a different way than perhaps what you were doing before. Don't you agree?
To a certain extent, I would also say though that I would say most people actually have more value than they realize. They don't need to take
Maybe.
another class in many cases. Here's a clue. If what you're doing today is strictly what I call order taking. So in other words, you have the metaphorical clipboard in front of you and you're just asking the client, okay, what do you need? And you're just taking orders. That's not where you want to be. I bet that most people can relate to a situation where you're listening to the client tell you what they want. And as you listen to it, you realize that they might be making some mistakes. But you don't say anything because you're just taking orders. So if you're realizing some things, this is about, again, this is not an overnight thing. This is a gradual shift. Hey, Dolores, I have a question about the second item you mentioned. You're telling me this, that, and the other, but have you considered the impact of this other thing? Or how does this tie to this other project that we're working on? And just asking questions. You're not saying, Dolores, you're wrong. This is not what you should be working on. You're asking questions. And you'd be surprised. I think many clients are so busy, they don't have time to think of every angle of the impact of what they're doing on everything else. So this is about speaking up, about asking good questions, about listening critically, and offering some ideas. Some clients are going to be receptive to that. Some won't. That's okay. But you need to try. You need to find the ones who are receptive to it.
Yes, amazing. Great idea to put into practice, because sometimes as translators, we just receive the order, as you said, and just do as we are told.
Sure.
And sometimes we do have a lot of questions and we are afraid of asking them. Just, if the client perhaps will not like it or it's nothing to do with his business and we are afraid of asking. But sometimes we ask and it's a good decision, but we have to take the risk, let's say.
Take the risk and practice asking the right way so that it doesn't come across as confrontational or abrasive. It's taking a more consultative approach, rather than a passive approach where you don't say anything, or a confrontational approach where you making the client feel that they don't know what they're doing.
Great. Yes, and just by listening to your podcast, B2B business launcher.
It's
the
high
name of the
income business writing.
High income business writing. It used to be high income business writing. Now it's B2B launching.
Well, the thing, it's confusing because the website is b2blauncher.com.
Ah, that's why. Yes.
But yeah, the podcast, it's called High Income Business
High
Writing.
Income, but it used to have at the very beginning another name, right?
Well, I had a second one.
You had it. Yes, I began with that.
That's why I'm confusing you, because I used to have the Smarter Freelancing podcast.
I love that. Well, it's just the previous one because it's you as well.
Yes, but I realized that doing two shows at the same time is too much.
Yes. No, congratulations, because I always listen to your podcast when I go running very early morning. So it's my dose of inspiration and like a coaching session sometimes, because you are very to the point. And I love the episodes that are very short, like 3 or 4 minutes that you added some months ago, because it's just a tip that you share, no? Because that's from your coaching sessions that sometimes you share some of the tips that you provide.
Just record them on my phone. I have an idea. I jot down some notes and I record it on my phone. It's 3 to 4 minutes.
Unbelievable, because they are precious. It's a gem. You have to listen to Ed's podcast and pay a lot of attention to that ones, because they are every word that you say. It seems that you're speaking to us, sometimes.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot, Ed. And thanks for all your books that you are always sharing with us from your website. And last week I listened to you on another podcast, the Content Bite podcast,
Oh,
that
yes.
you are going to a summit, yes, in September
Yes.
in Australia. You're going to speak there.
Yeah, which is very exciting. This will be my
Yeah.
first time in the Southern Hemisphere.
Wow, then you
Uh,
have to come to Argentina another time.
yes, I know.
Yes,
I know. Yeah,
another.
it's very exciting. First time in Australia, first time in the Southern Hemisphere. So I'm looking forward to it.
Wow, it's a content writers conference, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's the Content Bite Summit in Sydney, Australia. It's in mid-September. So if
Yeah.
anyone listening is in the Sydney area, would
Wow.
love to meet you and connect. So check it out.
Sure. It's a long way from your home, right?
It's a very long way.
Yes, that is worth the effort. You'll love
Absolutely.
it. Great. Well, Ed, and just to finish, because we know that you are very, very busy, what a word, it's difficult for such a writer and copywriter, or phrase do you find that guides you this year or these challenging times? Do you have a word or a phrase that you live by at least these months?
I don't know if I have a word or a specific phrase. I have a few that I go to
Mhm.
when things aren't going well. And things aren't going well most of the time. I would
Yes,
say,
it's life.
it's life. It's life. My
Right.
favorite one is actually the title of a book by Ryan Holiday, is one of my favorite books ever. And it's
Mm,
called The Obstacle is the Way.
love it.
And I find that phrase so powerful because when things are not working out the way you want them to, just remembering that the obstacle, the challenge, the setbacks, that is the way. Don't walk around them, don't ignore
Mm,
them, don't shy away from them, don't wish they weren't there. Be
mm,
grateful that they're there and work with those challenges. That's where the real growth happens. And that's where you're really going to find what you're looking for, is by going
mm,
through the obstacle. And then the other one that I try to remind myself of is that tomorrow is another day.
mm. Love it.
It's today was really bad and I don't feel great about the way things went. And for some reason, they all happen at once. Something bad
Yes,
happens, and then two other bad things happen that same day. Just
yes,
reminding yourself tomorrow's another day. I've done everything I can, and I will deal with the day tomorrow. And I start fresh. So
yes.
those are things that guide me because, again, I think going through the easy times, nobody has problems with those. It's really
Mm.
dealing with the challenges that are right in front of you. How do you deal with that? How do you stay on course?
Yes, when the sea is calm, it's very easy to sail, right? But
It
it's
is
almost never calm, and you
true.
have to face it. Yes. Well, it's great to speak to you today. I love your podcast, everything that you write. The the people or the audience can subscribe to your email on your website, and you
Yes,
are
at
mostly
b2blauncher.com is where you can go.
exactly
I have a free book there that you can download called Earn More in Less
more.
Time. And yeah, feel free to check
You
it out.
share, you are very generous because you share a lot of super useful information for us freelancers all over the world, and also your podcast. And which is your most or your favorite social media where you are mostly?
Yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn would be
LinkedIn.
the one.
They can. I will put everything on the show notes. So Ed,
Yes.
hopefully we'll see you someday in person here in a conference, perhaps.
I would love to.
Yes, we will do that. And thanks a lot for being such an inspiring coach that we have. I always listening to you very close to our ears every day, despite the physical distance. But that's the magic of podcast. So thanks.
Yes. Well, thank you for taking me with you on your runs.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Till next time.